I think there's a lot of people who listen to this who own both, long-term and
Mhm.
short-term rentals. And so can you kind of share maybe the financial reports that you should have, just regardless if you're a real estate investor, these are the things that you need to know, and then maybe some of the differences between what you should be accounting for or paying attention to if you're a short-term rental owner versus a long-term rental owner.
Yeah. Okay. So, three financial statements we always want to know are the profit and loss statement, the balance sheet, and your cash flow statements. So those are like our three primary financial statements that we really want to be paying attention to. And one of the ways I like to describe this is, it's similar to your personal finances. When you have your income and expenses coming in, you kind of think of that as your income statement and your cash flow, because it's usually what you're monitoring and checking accounts and things like that. So that's similar to what you're paying attention to on your profit and loss statement. But there's different accounting rules when it comes to real estate, especially for real estate businesses. So it's actually your cash flow statement that you're also going to want to be paying a lot of attention to, because, for example, when we have a mortgage, those payments get split out into your principal and your interest. And so some of that is on your balance sheet and some of that is on your profit and loss statement. So
Mm,
you want to see the whole picture. And especially when we're trying to like manage our cash flow as property managers, you want to look at that cash flow statement. So those are first the three that you really want to get a handle on what's going on with your business. Your profit and loss statement is every, revenue and expenses for the month. Your balance sheet is your equity and really what your financial picture looks like at a set point in time. And then your cash flow statement is throughout that month, how that cash has changed hands. So after those three, specifically for real estate, I also recommend, if you are a long-term renter, like you want to be paying attention to your rent roll, and have a financial statement for that, especially depending on, how many renters you have, how you're organizing it. Another one that I really do recommend people prepare and then monitor is, it's a budget, it's a forecast, it's that statement, and so because you want to be looking forward as well as back. So when we look at our financial statements, we're often just looking backwards to see what did happen, but we also want to be looking forward and saying, okay, what do we think is going to happen with our income and with our expenses?
mm,
And then after that time period does go by, is that what happened? Just take a
yeah.
look, compare your budget to your actuals, see what really transpired, especially when it comes to the short-term renters, because we often have cyclical businesses. So, if you're in a beach market, it's going to be higher income in the summer than in the winter. So you need to be thinking about that, and you need to be adjusting your expenses to account for it. And that's really where you have a lot of value that you can add when you're looking at your budget and forecast.
Based on your experience, I mean, you've seen a lot of different real estate investors. What are some of the top financial reasons why a real estate business would fail?
Oh gosh. Okay. So yeah. Um, Not operating it like a business is a
Mm,
big one.
mm,
Because a lot of times we kind of stumble into this and you really have to make a switch at some point into, okay, this is a business, I'm going to operate it as a business, I need to have the financial statements, I need to be, looking at everything every month, and really treating it that way, because otherwise what will happen is things will just slip by, but it'll accumulate over
mm,
months, over years, and then, there will be problems with taxes, there will be like other things that come up, and unfortunately, that's one of the first things that I really want people to think about is like, okay, this is a business, I am going to operate as a business, and what do I need to do that? So that's one. Another one I already touched on a little bit. Please have a reserve account. um, like having the reserve account, I've seen it where, everything's going great and then something hits And if you don't have that extra cash, you don't have that buffer, your project is in the middle of being built and everything's shut down for months on end, and you still have a mortgage to cover and you still have to figure out what to do next. So really having that buffer is very important. And I know you might not always have it right away because you put money down to buy the properties, but building up into it, at least get 3 months worth as soon as possible will really help you succeed. Yeah. And then really, tracking your expenses, knowing what income is coming in, looking at those financial statements, it really comes down to awareness. And so having that awareness around what's going on with your business and being able to then make the decisions of, can I actually buy another property right now? Am I financially in a good place to do that? Should I, do I want to? Like all of those questions, you need information to be able to answer. And so sometimes I'll see where people will not know the answer to those questions and maybe over leverage themselves too much and then be like, oh, what happened? Like, how did I get to this point?
Yeah.
And so it's really some of that awareness of knowing where you're at so that you can make the right decision for you.
Yeah. Man, all great advice. And to your first point, about treating it like a business and staying on top of things. I've worked with people in the past who've said, I'm a big picture person. I don't mess the details. And it seems like that never works. Like that mindset. It's like everything is built on the details. Like you do stuff on a small scale first and pay attention to the details, understand the relationships, how things move, how things work together, and keep it organized. And I've noticed that my income level is in direct proportion with how organized I am. If I get more organized and get a better system around what I'm doing, all of a sudden my income level goes up, and the size of the deals that I'm able to do and the amount of profit, everything starts to improve. But when you just kind of ignore it and say, yeah, that's for, small picture people, they can deal with the details. It tends not to go well. Like you said, all of a sudden, you have IRS issues and just all kinds of problems will crop up. So how often, I'm curious, do you recommend meeting with your clients? Do you meet on a monthly basis to go through the books, or?
Yeah, so it depends. We touch base at least once a month.
Okay.
On what's going on with the finances. It can be an email, it can be a chat, really depends, but I would recommend at least touching base once a quarter, for sure, to really like chat about things so that, you know what they're seeing, but they also know what's coming for your business. If you're like, okay, this is the plan, this is of what's coming next, how can we prep for it? So at least once a quarter, but being in touch at least once a month is usually what I do.